RGH Realty #1 Inc.
Well, there are three parts of the transaction I'd like to talk about: the title, insurance, municipal, and surveys.
Okay. Title insurance is a very important part of the transaction. From the buyer's perspective, they get title insurance to make sure that they have good title to the property. Meaning 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, no one's going to knock on their door and say, by the way, my great-great-grandfather left me this house in his will, and now you have to get out. So title insurance searches back in the records in the county clerk's office for 50 years to see who owned the property over those years and make sure that everything was transferred properly. And once the title company is comfortable with that, they'll issue a title insurance policy, and that protects the buyer for the entire time that they own the property. From the seller's perspective, as long as they have title insurance from when they bought the property, then they're covered and they can clear any issues that might possibly come up on the title search. Part of the title search are the municipal searches or violation searches. And these are to make sure that everything was done properly on the house. So if there were any additions done, that the homeowner got the proper permits from the town or village or municipality, and that they built everything to code. And so there's a certificate of occupancy search, which shows when the house was built and any additions. There's a violation search to make sure that there is no additions that weren't done properly. And there are tax searches and bankruptcy searches that go along with that too. And another part of the title is the survey. So as a buyer, you want to make sure that you're buying a house that's within the boundary lines of the property and that the seller didn't build a deck that happens to encroach on the neighbor's property. So then you buy the house and the neighbor knocks on your door and says, by the way, dig up that deck and get it off my property. So as a buyer's attorney, I always strongly recommend that my clients obtain a survey of the property. Whether it's an old survey from, maybe 10, 20, however many years ago that we can update, or if we can't find an old survey, then I advise them to buy a new one.
Now, who buys that?
The buyer.
The buyer.
Sometimes the sellers will have an old survey, and it's very helpful if they give that to us. But if not, then we have to purchase a new survey.
And at what point during the transaction do you usually request that?
We order the title search, and we ask them to look in the building department to see if there's an old survey in their files. If there's not, then we go to the seller's attorney and we say, can you ask your client to look in their files? And then if they still can't find one, then at that point we would order a new survey. So we try every angle we can to get an old survey, and then if we can't, we would have to get a new one.
And usually what's the time frame with that?
Usually they can do a survey in about 10 days.
Okay.
Even quicker if we need to.
Okay. Do you find that that's a problem with people buying homes?
No, most houses have surveys on the property. Nowadays, most people have been advised to get one at some point, so sellers generally have one, the building department generally has one. It's pretty rare nowadays to find a house that doesn't have a survey somewhere.
And if it doesn't, do you find resistance with the buyers?
Sometimes.
That they have to purchase it?
Yeah, sometimes, because it's a big expense, and sometimes people don't understand the reasons behind it, but I highly recommend that my clients get it.
When you say it's a big expense, it could run
roughly between $750 to $1,250.
Really?
Depending on where the property is located.
And they usually have to pay for that right up front.
They pay for that right up front, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So it's a big expense, and I always tell buyers you can always get a survey down the road if you want to, but that won't protect you if there are any issues that come up. And if you get a survey after you've owned the house for a day and there's an issue, now it's your issue.
RGH Realty #1 Inc.